edition of Pro Saints Talk. I'm your host, River Parish / Red Stick Ron. Who else we got on the line tonight?
We got George here. Thank you for bringing us back to our third episode. I want to thank the fans. I didn't really anticipate such a strong following, constant text messaging, hey, when's the next episode, and all the constructive criticism. I know we hear you out there. I know you're hearing us in these 4 microphones, and our preseason too, and we're getting better like a fine wine with age. So thank you for bearing with us. Thank you for the support. Welcome, Boogie, to the show.
Boog tuned in also. Godfather missing again tonight, but I think he'll be here after week 1. That's when he starts watching the Saints anyway.
A lot of people have been wondering, why did we start this podcast? How did it come to be? This actually is a result of us just talking Saints on a lot of 3-way calls and a lot of our friends being left out of the conversation. And we ended up just taking their recommendation of, hey, man, y'all really need to start your own podcast. And we appreciate all the fans' support, like George said, and we're going to keep this train rolling. All right. So that being said, we kicked it off last week pretty hard on Marcus Davenport. So I think we owe it to him. He's back practicing. Boogie, what do you got?
Dude, Davenport showed up in practice with pads on. I think that was a tweet from one of the local beats. I think that's the point we're at. Hey, Davenport in pads. So I think a pretty big jump from last week when we thought he might be IR. So the dude's in pads. What was the bet last week? Over 5 sacks. We're going to Gallup lunch. So one step closer to a lunch, I hope.
Oh, we're one step closer to a lunch just because he's practicing? I don't think the odds of him actually getting 5 sacks have really changed. I think Trey Hendrickson's playing so well. Would you really want to see Davenport ahead of Hendrickson? He had a great opening preseason, which we'll get to later. And Okafor's injury wasn't severe. There was a scare midweek. We almost had an emergency podcast that Okafor was out. And then we're like, holy shit, we just called out Davenport. And then 90 minutes later, Okafor goes down. And we wanted to put him in there. But no, with Okafor healthy and avoiding a severe injury, and with Henderson playing well, I don't see how Davenport gets on the field enough to get 5 sacks. Maybe he turns it around as a meteoric rise, but no, I don't think he's getting 5 sacks. And I want to see him week 3 in the preseason. Like you just said, he's practicing, and we're making a big deal about practice, like Allen Iverson here. No, I'm not gonna crown him just because he attended 1 practice in pads. I still think he's been way behind the 8 ball, and I'm very pessimistic about his rookie year, yet optimistic about the season.
I agree. I think we need to focus on him getting a preseason sack, much less a preseason snap, in before we start counting his regular season sacks. We talked about last week. You set the tone in the media that this guy's still a project. And Peyton, I think, even had a quote from practice today saying that, he's still got a lot of things to work on, but at least he's out there getting some reps. So I guess we can start to generate a little bit of optimism about this guy. Hopefully he'll make some progress in practice, but obviously still a real long way to go.
No, he's definitely still a project. Even when he practiced, I still didn't hear anything. I didn't hear any positive reports. I saw someone tweeted that he had a good bull rush, but that was about it. I mean, this is the guy's first practice, and he practiced like 4 times before and got hurt 2 out of the 4. So I guess it's good he didn't get hurt today.
The good news about him, I will say, is the fact that he's got the good hands. He's opposite Cam Jordan. We have great DT play. We haven't had DT play this good since maybe the Super Bowl year, and then before that, the Lunch Bunch and the Roy Glover. We have great defensive tackles. So the offensive line, the last guy they're going to be featuring and worried about is Davenport. So if he is thrown in the mix, he's not going to see any double teams. Probably going to see their worst linemen and the least amount of attention. So in that aspect, he's dealt a good hand.
Well, like we were saying, the guy, he's got a long way to go. Just reminds me of another guy that we got reminded this past week has a long way to go. Taysom Hill. We got all on the hype train. It was a great thing to get excited about. I mean, he was giving you reason for excitement. I made a comment on the podcast last week that he reminded me a little bit of Aaron Brooks with that run throw ability, a little bit of dynamic play. And I'm really sad to say that this week he reminded me even more of Aaron Brooks with his ability to turn it over so creatively. I mean, don't you remember those times that Aaron Brooks would just dazzle you with athletic ability, putting throws on the money, and then take a snap, and then just bring the ball back and slip it out of his fingers and fumble it? It was just like that this past week with Taysom Hill. I didn't even understand what that was. Was that a handoff? Was it supposed to be play action? Ball just slips out of his hands.
Which one? That happened twice.
Yeah, exactly. It was Aaron Brooks-esque, and I felt like I really jinxed him or something like that by putting that comparison on him.
I don't think you jinxed him. I think it was just a big hype clickbait scheme all along. It started last year with whatever interview that was on Fox when they said, oh, Peyton said the next quarterback's in the building, and then everyone started foaming at the mouth for training for the Ron special hype train. So every week we had 10 articles on Hill. I mean, I don't think the dude was ever that good. I just think he was a bunch of hype, bunch of articles. Dude ran around, threw the ball. It comes out this week, and it's just like, all right, yeah, well, this is why this dude's the backup quarterback. I mean, he could be third string. He went from hype train. He's the next quarterback after Brees. I mean, he could get cut. I think he's that. I mean, he's not quarterback.
He's gonna have to make this team. He's gonna have to make this team on special teams. What you just said is accurate.
Yeah, man.
That's how he's gonna make this team on special teams, which is crazy for a quarterback to even be in that conversation. One, he's on the bubble because nowadays you keep two quarterbacks, and Savage now looks like the man for the job, and JT Barrett looks like your practice squad quarterback. So the only way he's going to make this team is special teams. When we're at the game last week, Ron and I were sitting in the club, and you could just tell the coaches told Taysom, throw the ball. We know you can run. We want to see you throw. And Taysom would take the ball, snap, take two step backs, and stare down the receiver and throw it to him whenever he got open. If he didn't, he'd take a sack, fumbled, lost the ball. You could tell. Like, Drew Brees was so spoiled, and we get accustomed to it. He gets the ball, and you can just see he's looking left, right, down the field, left, right, down the field. And you can just see he's scanning the whole field. Taysom Hill does not have that ability, and that's why he turned the ball over so many times. He's just I don't want to say statue because you know it's fast. He showed he can run with that 40-yard run in the second quarter, but he's not an NFL quarterback. And it all got exposed that game. I made a tweet. I made a stupid graphic. I was all aboard the Taysom Hill train. Choo choo. Is running over Savage. I put it on our Twitter. I bought into the hype, but it's all burst. I can't think of one player, one Saint, to ever have his stock go down so dramatically in one regular season game, one preseason game. Can y'all?
I think I got one. I don't know if his stock was ever so high as a Saint, but I'm thinking flashback to the year 2007. We signed a guy by the name of Jason David off the Super Bowl champion Colts. Came in week one against said Colts, and I think Peyton put up 4 touchdowns on him.
He did have a strip fumble touchdown that game. Remember that?
Okay, I do. Yeah, I'll give him that. But you want to talk about a guy whose stock plummeted out the gates.
All right, let me give you a little hype train, and you two were part of this. Let's flash back to, I believe, 2007, 2008. We're all in a common place, you know what I'm talking about. And a guy hits the front page of the newspaper in the preseason. The Savior. All the hype, the written articles about him. 370-pound man who can do a backflip. Walter Thomas. Biggest hype train ever. That's before we had clickbait with Twitter. Well, what happened with that dude, Ron? We saw articles about him all week about, oh man, he's a monster. He's going to start. He's going to be awesome. he's going to be so good. Then he makes it through one practice and Peyton cuts his ass. Couldn't cut the conditioning. So I think that was a big hype train by the media back then. The guy was on the front page of the sports section doing a backflip. I'm looking at it online right now, and I can remember bringing that sports section in.
I love that answer. I remember that disappointment. 15 minutes into him working out, John Payton cuts him because he's huffing and puffing next to the treadmill. Yeah, that's a good answer. I don't know when exactly the epiphany occurred for Browner. I mean, there's a bunch: Bird, Browner, David, like Ron said. I don't not exactly remember. Dwight Smith to Bucky Jones. Exactly. We have all these DBs that you showed a lot of disappointment. But I don't know if one guy in one game went from the dome darling to just clickbait. Now, I love that nickname for Taysom Hill. Let's just call him clickbait from now on. I think it's all over. He got exposed. The media is going to move on. And that also means that we're riding with Savage. It's scary because he's heavy-footed. He's a statue. He's got a pretty good arm. Was pretty ugly in Houston last year. But that's going to be our guy. And you're going to see, last year, you saw the importance of backup quarterbacks. I said in that first podcast, you saw the Packers go from a contender to missing on the playoffs, obviously because A-Rod went out for the most of the year. And then the Eagles lost their starting quarterback and still won the Super Bowl. So the backup quarterback is on the utmost importance. And ours is Savage. I don't feel that great about that.
Joe, I got to go back to Walter Thomas. I think stat correction. That was back up in the days
at Millsaps?
Yeah, I'm thinking that was up at Millsaps, dude. Back when Peyton was hard.
Yeah, dipping and sweating, man.
That was before he got soft and went up to Greenbrier.
Exactly. Speaking of Greenbrier, what do you think of you still believing in the Greenbrier curse?
I want a candle every night. Fell away the Greenbrier curse. That was awful.
I mean, how can you not believe in the curse? I mean, you come back for 2017 to, Airline Highway, Old Metairie, and
New Metairie, bro.
Well, I meant like Old Metairie. So, but yeah, the shrine on Airline, and what happens in 2017? You got a freaking a team. You got a contender. All those years up at Greenbrier, I'm pretty sure that was one big vacation.
Oh, man, I thought it was a vacation. I was preaching that all the time. All the media people had a vacation. Everyone, it's a big kumbaya over at Greenbrier. But now it's in the heart of Louisiana, Metairie, bro. You got all the Rons back at the stands. You got Peyton sweating and not eating avocado salad at Greenbrier. Dude, we're back. We're back.
One regret is that we never went to Greenbrier, which would have been a hell of a trip. To all the listeners out there, we attend one road game a year. We're actually having trouble scheduling the one this year. Someone Atlanta, someone Cincinnati, some away for the playoffs. But a summer...
I think Panama Red went to Greenbrier.
Oh, shout out to Panama Red. He did go to Greenbrier. We should have went with him.
But not to see the same.
And pretty sure our New Yorkers made it to Greenbrier.
That's right. Shout out to the New Yorker.
True.
At West Point. He went down to visit Greenbrier. That's true.
I was going to just put in one more plug. Me and Boogie made it up to Millsaps.
The Red Roof Inn. We'll never forget.
Let's move on to the second preseason game. Ron and I were in attendance. Boogie was at home, a little jet lag from the big overseas trip. What were our taking home points, fellas? Let's start with you, Ron.
Oh, well, preseason game number 2, I mean, key takeaways. We already talked about Taysom Hill, and I think we got to highlight Jonathan Williams again. I mean, he's getting the well-deserved opportunity in week 2. I think he made the most of it. Like I was looking for, I got the encore performance out of Traquan Smith. I was liking what he was showing me. I think the one thing I'm still waiting to see is something out of Cameron Meredith. He had the one drop that led to one of Taysom Hill's interceptions, which we didn't talk about, but he definitely boosted his street cred on special teams by making the tackle on that play. Yeah, Cameron Meredith. I mean, I'm still waiting to see something out of this guy. I keep hearing from Peyton that he's healthy and, he's got such great experience that he can play the X or he can go into the slot for us. I haven't seen it. I want to see it. But I don't know how fair that is to judge Cameron Meredith with Taysom Hill throwing him passes. Hey, looked like a good ball that he dropped, but there's just something about Drew Brees throwing to receivers. Guy seems to just raise the play of everybody around him. We've seen it for years. Him just take no names, essentially, guys you never hear of, and turn them into stars. So I think those are my key takeaways on offense.
The T. Hill train went down sinking. We knew that. One thing watching on TV is, you know me, I question a few odd things. Is why are they running Ingram so much? I don't know. It's just, he's out 4 games. Why even play Ingram? A couple snaps. Just seems like he was getting them a lot. Another guy who seemed to be like a little bit in the doghouse, seemed like he was getting more snaps, but then I just looked, he maybe got like 2 or 3 snaps than Thomas. But, Peyton made a little comment about his, route running afterwards. I thought the defense, with all the defensive line talk, they got those on that one play, but, you can't tell if that's preseason or not. And, thought the O-line looked pretty solid. But, I didn't get a good look at, I was looking for our boy Landon Turner, like we talked last week, some of the interior guard play.
He was inactive.
Oh, he was?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I was looking for him. It's harder to look. It's easier to watch the O-line, I feel like, at the games than it is on TV. I did see the 4-pounder play a good bit. So those are my takeaways. It's preseason. It's hard to tell. Hey, one thing about Meredith, though, he did drop that ball.
Oh, definitely.
Apparently he made a good play. I was watching on Twitter today. He made a pretty nice catch. So
talking about practice?
That's what I thought.
I like what you said. I like what you said with the offensive line. I disagree with what you said about Ingram. Give us carries now because we're not going to have him for a month. I think he looked really hungry, and Jonathan Williams looked hungry as well. He had huge holes created by the offensive line. Our first starting offensive line played terrifically, and that opened up holes for the running backs, and then Taysom Hill would just go turn the ball over in the red zone. But they're ready for regular season. You can tell they're in regular season form. Traquan Smith might be our number 2 receiver, probably 3 after Kamara and Thomas. Again, could have a similar year to last year. Traquan Smith is a sleeper. A lot of people going up to the fantasy draft this weekend. Taking a late round pick on Traquan Smith. He might really put some numbers up in this offense. No one really knows who he is right now. He looks good. Catches the ball cleanly. Runs with the ball well. I think he's got a bright future in our offense. Yeah, other than that, it's kind of ugly preseason game. Not a lot of takeaways, not a lot of shining stars. DeMario Davis getting this linebacker from the Jets like Jonathan Vilma all over again. He's going to be great. He is going to be great. He had a play in the backfield. He got to the running back as soon as he got the handoff. He looked really good. I think he's going to be better than people anticipated. We signed him. He's going to be a freaking stud. Josh Rosen on the other side of the ball on their team, he looks good. I know he struggled in his first preseason game. He looked very sharp. We weren't getting a lot of pressure on him. Hendrickson did a little bit, but he was really it. Rosen looks good. I think Mayfield looks good. I think this rookie class, Darnold looks good. This rookie class of quarterbacks are off to a hot start.
Yeah, George, I forgot how good the offensive line played, the starters. I mean, they really did open up some holes. We got a great vantage point in our seats in the dome. We got the all-22 view, for the pros that want to break it down. And they really were opening up some big holes. So I did forget about that. Going back to Ted Ginn, Boogie, yeah, he may be on the outside looking in on the action right now, but I'm going to chalk that one up to preseason quarterbacks like Tom Savage and Taysom Hill not being able to hit the deep balls like Drew Brees. And let's be honest, Ted Ginn had a great year last year, but he's still a one-trick pony, and that trick's a deep ball. So I'm going to chalk that one up there. But on the defense, George, I know you and I pointed it out. A.J. Klein ran down a few guys that I thought, man, he was hustling for a preseason game. Makes you wonder if he's really fighting. I mean, he was out there with the twos at one point, maybe even the threes. I'm not even sure, but he was hustling. I think he's trying to make a statement that he is still a leader on this team, and I think he's going to be a starter. But it was interesting to see him getting those reps back in the back end of that game. Another guy we haven't talked about, though, the return game. How about Brandon Tate kicking off the game with
I like it, man.
With a 40-yard return.
Tate's going to make the team.
Tate's going to make the team.
Tate's going to make the team. You know a name that we thought was a lock to make the team, so I'm now beginning to question, is Hooman. I don't see how Hooman makes the team. I mean, when was the last time he was reliable, getting a lot of snaps? I just haven't seen it from him in years. And we have other tight ends. We have Grace.
Who's going to be the 3 tight ends, George?
Watson, obviously. Hill. And we have that guy Phillips, too, that they kind of like. But that's your 3.
Don't rule out, don't sleep on Dan Arnold now. I'm telling you, man, that could be a little Peyton project right there.
Thank you for listening to episode number 3 of Pro Saints Talk. And here's a quick word from our sponsor.
Are you worried that your 11-year-old boy is a bit unsmooth with the ladies and looking to do something about it? Well, sign him up for dance lessons at Valencia on Jenna Street. Their talented team of Russians will pair your son with a much taller partner and train him on all the formal dance moves in a stress-free, relaxed environment. Valencia on Jenna Street in New Orleans.
You know who didn't record a single tackle? Aloy Kakaha.
Davenport's coming in as the third down, one-trick pony on not even every third down, like every fourth third down in the game. He'll just come in and rush. Everyone will go crazy, like we said last week. So
Tupar looks good. I can roll with Tupar. And this guy, number 55, Elliott. Everyone's
Jaron Elliott.
Every day, dude talks about him about training camp on how well he looks on WWL. Who needs to have a big game versus the Chargers? Kiki, obviously. Taysom Hill might be able to turn everything around. That'd be kind of exciting. I like to see Meredith a lot. Meredith needs to prove something to us. And then Shane Vereen needs to have a big game to make this team. Because these young running backs are taking over. Boston Scott, Williams, obviously, Kamara. Those are going to be the guys that take over while Ingram's gone.
I'm going to say that Muhammad needs a big game. I mean, not to earn a spot on the roster. I think that's secure, but he needs to just show us something that he's going to be a contributor this year. So I kind of am looking for him to do something. You know, we're seeing all kinds of progress from Hendrickson and the rest of the D line. Not really seeing much out of Muhammad so far. So I kind of want to see him, cause some ruckus in there.
I'm looking forward to watching the game all together. Fantasy Draft 2018. Got the TV set up for outside.
That's a great point, Boogie.
Dude,
we got the Pro Uptown Talk
man,
draft this weekend. George is already disclosing fantasy strategy over there with Traquan Smith. I'm taking notes over there.
Hey, Boss is going to pull the trigger. Boss will pull the trigger on Traquan. Watch. But I got the TV set up for the porch. Don't worry. But hey, dude, the person I'm looking for is our boy Davenport.
Yeah, that's number one.
Davenport, Meredith will play because he's been practicing. I guess Jonathan Williams, see, what's going on there. Gets a little bit of the backup O-line. Hey, speaking of the O-line, the former Tiger, Ron, getting some first-team reps. I thought he was going to be an automatic start. He got drafted. I don't even know why he's running with the second team. But apparently he's running with the first team now. Any thoughts on that? You going to watch him?
Oh, absolutely. I think we knew when we took him. I think we knew what we were getting. A proven, long-time NFL starter, a.k.a. a Tiger. It was about time Peyton got a Tiger on the roster, dude. How many are we going to watch come into the league and just be instant successes? look, clearly something's going right when these guys leave, all right? They may not be doing much at LSU, may not win too many big games there, but they're coming in and winning big games in the NFL and making big money. I mean, look at the Tigers signing contracts around the NFL. Dude, clap. Don't sleep on him, all right, man? George and I already got a routine in the dome, man. When he's going to be pulling on a big block, we're just going to give him one clap. Ain't that right, George?
Davenport will be everyone will be cheering for him and Davenport this season. That's the Davenport and Clapp, I bet you, are the only rookies about maybe 85% of the dome know about, and who will be looking for at least. The other dude I'll look for is Jamerson. You know.
Oh yeah, good answer. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know about him. I don't see a bright future for them this rookie year. They're going to be like a Chip Vaughn type. Maybe next year, not this year. It's too important to throw them out there. And these other guys like Mullet and Hardy are so much better.
Yeah, true. Ubonable Cat's gotta do something this week. I mean, he's definitely a bubble guy. We'll see what happens, but yeah, he's got to make a splash, big time.
We have so many special teamers now. I remember years past, we had no good special teamers. Now, for the first time in a long time, it might be because of Yoda on the sideline, that we have great special teamers, and it does make a difference.
You used to have so many undrafted free agents and so many random dudes just running around. Like, dude, Boyd last year, when was
Bobby Richardson?
Brothers. The brothers were
no
both
fly
on
zone.
special
That's
teams.
4 years ago. For 3 years ago. That was awesome.
Yeah, I mean, you get these guys. I mean, I remember one game, Dixon was on Julio Jones. You're just like, oh no, man. Are you serious? We just picked this guy up 2 weeks ago off the street. And then that line directly to Julio scored a touchdown. I think we were at that game together, Ron and George. We watched that happen.
That reminds me when we signed Sterling Moore, I think week 2 years ago. We put him on Odell, and he did a great job. And Sterling Moore got picked up by somebody. I love Sterling Moore. I feel like we never gave him enough playing time. He got picked up, but he's one of those guys I'd like to see as a free agent. And when we have injuries occur, we can put him in. I've always thought he was doing better than P.J. Williams. I'm not a big fan of P.J. I don't know what you get out of him.
He may get cut.
I think they'd hold on to guys like that for upside. I think they're just convinced that they know what they have with Sterling Moore, and they know that if they cut him, nobody else is going to pick him up, and they can just sign him if they need him again. But they know they want to hold out for P.J. Williams. I don't know. That's kind of my vibe. But going back, I gotta give Boogie some love on shouting out old no-fly zone Bryant Dixon, Northwest Missouri State. That was a great flashback for me. I got chills.
What's the last question for the night, Ron?
Oh, well, I think we got to, maybe the second to last question. Well, it might lead into the last question, but what did we think of Streif this week? He had a full game under his belt. What did we think of week 2?
All right, I'll take it. 2 thumbs down. I gave him the pass after the first week because I think on our first podcast, Ron and I had our own struggles. And then we grew from there. We learned. We don't have the microphones yet, but we'll get the microphones. And we'll get better. We'll have more pizzazz. That's what the crowd's been wanting. But, no, Streif isn't working out. We left the 8-minute mark and then walked down Porter to get to the car. And we were able to catch the end of Streif. And it's just bad. I don't know whatever adjective you want to use to say it's as bad as it can be. It's a 10 out of 10 bad. Deuce has to fill the blanks for Streif, and Deuce isn't trained on that either. To get 2 rookies, novices up there, and Streif isn't getting it right, and then Deuce tries to correct it, and it's just bad combination. And Streif doesn't have a New Orleans, doesn't sound like he's from here. New Orleans is a very distinct way of talking and accent, obviously, and Streif has a thick, northeastern or midwestern accent, and it doesn't jive. I know they did
He's not
it
one
for
of
a
us.
splash. He's not one of us. They did it for a splash, but 2 weeks into it, I can already tell you it's not going to work. What you think, Boogie?
Yeah, what are they saying? Tune down the TV, turn up the Saints radio. So I did that, and because I really want it to work. So I'm trying to, you're trying to say, okay, let's see what these guys have. But man, It's not good. And let me tell you something about how when I realized it really wasn't on TV. The broadcast team is Joel Myers, Jonathan Stinchcomb, and that dude Sean Kelly. And man, I was just thinking when I was listening to the TV, and then I would tune into 870. It's like, man, Joel Myers and Stinchcomb would be great in the booth, you know? Like the broadcast team just on whatever little CST network,
Yeah.
at least sounds better than the broadcast on 870. It just showed you're like, wow, how did this happen where the voice of the Saints and like these two guys in the booth are just,
I had the same epiphany at work today. I had the NFL Network playing on repeat, and they just showed the preseason games constantly on loop, one game after another, and they showed the Saints broadcast of the Cardinals Saints game, and I thought the exact same thing.
It's only a matter of time
yeah,
at this point.
Sooner the better if WWE was listening.
I think you're right. It sounded like the half blind leading the blind there at the end of the game. What happened at the end of the game, George? You remember that?
I remember vividly. It was a very awkward ending. The game ended, and Shiv goes, "All right, that's it." But it's not just because the clock hit 0-0. That doesn't mean the broadcast booth just walks away. You know, you exit. You tell them, "All right, thank you for listening." You know, the coaches are chatting. There's a lot to take away from this game. It was an ugly performance by the Saints. There's a lot for them to rebuild on. Good experience for the young guys. They're going to learn to get better from this. Taysom Hill, you know, he took one in the mouth today. Yeah, I know what you're saying. You got to say something. She just goes, "That's all, folks." And then Deuce is like, "Dude, we can't just, it's not over." And then they pick up the pieces from there.
Yeah, I felt like I was watching a Looney Tunes cartoon or something like that. But that's all, folks. Like, I mean, we went from like a minute or two in the game in terms of broadcasting, and yeah, then he goes, and they're taking it, and that's the game, and we'll be back with post game coverage, Saints Radio Network. And I was just like, what the hell just happened? We just had like a minute or two of dead air, and then we're going to break. It was awkward. Look, hey, it's still preseason, so maybe they'll get their act together. But yeah, if you're WWL management right now, you got to really be second guessing your decision. Especially, like y'all said, I didn't even realize that the fan experience of just the night and day coverage with Joel Myers. I mean,
Joel's the man.
You had him in your backyard and you couldn't even get him. So,
and now the whole New Orleans media scene is imploding. I think a lot of it has to derive from the Shreve hire. They thought the Shreve hire was a joke, and now they're calling WWL out for all of the media for just being a bunch of homers and not asking the powerful questions. And it's turned over. And it's kind of as if, it's all burning and the Phoenix is rising from this fire, and Pro Saints Talk is going to be the new voice of the Saints. What do you think, Ryan Boogie?
I mean, we said it last week. We do enough of these podcasts. We're going to get in line here to take this job. But yeah, man, it really did seem like this was the straw that broke the camel's back in terms of the New Orleans local media stability. I mean, between NOLA.com laying off people, this Shreve hire, and then, like Boogie was just about to allude to, Corey Johnson, a.k.a. the Bad Boy of Sports.
Bad Boy of Sports.
Just going
Bad
on.
Boy.
I mean, a Twitter rant for the ages with everybody that wanted to come to bat. Hey, you want some, Christian Garrett, a.k.a. K-Squid? Oh, you want some? Oh, man, it was getting out of hand. I mean, anybody that wanted some. Underhill, come get some.
Underhill.
I mean, he was taking some shots at Underhill.
Listen, I agree with Jorge. I think Bad Boy's the only one who really, he's like the lone man on the island, because I think it started with Eric Asher came out and made a comment, and then the Bad Boy jumped in, and he's just on an island just calling it like it is. I mean, he's right. They wrote all these articles on Shreve and all it's great, and all the Homer questions, and he was just like, hey man, let's ask different questions. I actually agreed with the bad boy on most topics. You know, he just wants some more questions, you know, asked, but just like I think someone said, or it might have been Corey Johnson on one. Oh no, it's the national media. They're never going to question their team too much, you know. They're meant to write the feel good stories.
We're a small market team, and Sean Payton has that effect on the reporters, to where if you start asking questions that he doesn't like your girl Kat Carroll did, he banishes you, he exiles you, and they know that. They have to have this customer service relationship with the Saints, or else they're going to get banished. Like in New York, there's a million reporters, and you can't, you know, it's a big market. It's a very different animal. But we're a small market. There's the same guys in cargo shorts and flip-flops showing up asking the questions. They don't want to lose the privileged status of being next to Sean Payton, Drew Brees, etc. So they have to ask the lollipop questions. But
right. No, and I think that's what he was getting at, because the bad boy even told, I think it was someone WWL, oh, just shut up, you have the dream gig, you know, for the new sports team with like Geller, K-Dog, all of them. So I think he's just calling out, I think it's a little underlining of them like calling out Street and WWL. I think that's where it's all stemming from. It's like, whoa, now we don't even have like a legitimate like
voice.
All the reporters vouched for Street and vouched for them because they interviewed him, and now he's the voice of the Saints. So it's like, whoa, what just happened here?
Yeah, you can tell it's all hogwash, because they're all saying, oh, he's doing great, great job, Chris, you really knocked out the park. Every guy you talk to in New Orleans, like the guys, the vendors, the guys you just see in your life that know Saints, everyone has guys in their life that can bullshit with the Saints all day long. I got Randy, I got a million guys in my life like that. Everyone's making fun of Street. Everyone in real life is making fun of Street. Yet, the media, the WWL, is sugarcoating it, saying that he's doing great. And it's hogwash.
Well, and speaking of sugarcoating, Boogie, I know, has always gotten on local media for asking those softball questions, not wanting to stir the pot, make any waves. God forbid Peyton or somebody pressure you out and you're not even in the meeting room anymore for post-game interviews. But this really, I don't want to make this about Marcus Williams, but that's really where a lot of the Twitter rant started, where Marcus Williams doesn't want to answer any questions about the play last year, wants to move on, and I'm fine with that, but hey, bad boy of sports calling the media out saying, a good reporter worth his medal has to ask that question. And Marcus Williams can be the big man and say, you know what, learn from it, I'm moving on. You know, you got to be open to answering questions. That's the media's job. And then Asher coming in, the media has a sacred trust to tell the truth. And then you just see the true faces of the homers and the guys maybe on the payroll, Christian Derrick, Zach Streif, Nick Underhill, all coming to his defense. Oh no, he doesn't have to answer that question. It's his right. And Corey and Asher are just they're in the right. The media has a job to do, unbiased, fair, honest. And I'm with Boogie. I kind of agree with Corey on most things.
But they make him out to be like they're just trying to isolate him. They're trying to silence his voice, probably. Or,
we hear you,
Corey.
We support you, Corey. Keep it up, brother, man.
Yeah. Well, that's a Lewis radio show, so.
What, you know the dry cleaning place on Claiborne by that Circle K, Young's Dry Cleaning used to be a Black Buzz, now it's an In-N-Out clinic. Felipe's, Frost up, all that. One time I went to that Subway at that corner, and then next to me was a dry cleaner, and there was a little fold-out table in the front, and a guy on a headset, just talking in the headset. I double back. Is that Corey Johnson? I go, Corey, what are you doing? He goes, I'm hosting my show, bro. Because he's hosting it from Young's Dry Cleaner. That was like a year ago. I don't know maybe that. But maybe, you know what, world? As Corey Johnson does guest appearances in Young's Dry Cleaner, no need to give them a shout out, but I'm sure they do great work. You'll find us doing podcast episodes Poydras and Galvez, pregame, postgame, find us over the overpass.
Under the overpass.
That's right, brah.
This podcast dream would only be a dream if not for Andrew Simmons behind the ones and twos doing the hard part. So a big shout out to our sound engineer, Andrew Simmons.